Ugh. Stupid fucking recording. And here's just a little bit about him. And we'll just look at that until we're ready to get started. Okay, whenever you want to go, I think we're ready to go. Okay, hang on just one quick sec. I just have to return this. It's on Supra. Go direct. Offers due today. Okay. Okay, everybody. Now I'll stop sharing the screen. Stop share. Okay, hi everybody. I'm Margret Erickson. Hope everyone's having a great day. And welcome to the Proposition 19 class. I'm really excited to do this because I think that's just such a rich subject. There are just so many ways that we can be of service to our clients and explain to our clients what exactly Proposition 19 is and how can they take advantage of it. Victoria was just mentioning that she had a client that just sold their property and they just didn't know what to do, how to navigate it and all of that. And we're so lucky today to have Dwight Nakata with Cetera, and he is a certified public accountant, but also a certified financial specialist. And he is gonna help us. And then once he does his presentation, if people have some questions and things like that, we'll do a question and answer portion. So without further ado, hi, Dwight.
Hi,
welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And hopefully all of you are doing well. I assume you're all doing well because it's a booming period. And it's good to know you want to add value to your transactions. So Proposition 19 was the home protection for seniors, severely disabled families, and victims of wildfire or natural disasters act. And that passed in November 2020 by the California voters. And Prop 19 is split into two main parts. The one you're interested in is homeowners who are 55 and older, or severely disabled, or who have lost a home in a natural disaster. And now they can transfer their original property tax basis anywhere within California up to 3 different times. And that was effective April 1st, 2021. And a major part also of Proposition 19 was the second part, which the proposition called for the elimination of an exemption used when someone transfers a house to a child or grandchild, if the grandchild doesn't live in the inherited house anymore. That was important to a lot of people, but today I was told that we want to focus on the homeowners who are age at least 55 or older, and they want to do the base year value transfer under the current law of Proposition 19. So we'll spend most of the time on that part, and let's see if the screen share will work. That's the wrong one. Let's see if I can go back. Did you get my PowerPoint? Okay. So today we're going to focus on homeowners who are at least age 55 and want to do the base year transfer under Proposition 19. And the type of property, it has to be a principal residence. And the timing is you can purchase or newly construct a residence within 2 years before or after the sale of the original residence. And in most cases, as long as either the primary residence is sold or the replacement property, primary residence is purchased on or after April 1st, 2021. The base year value of the primary residence can be transferred to the replacement residence. So you have a 2-year period. The location can be anywhere in California. And Proposition 19 also allows homeowners who are over 55 years of age, disabled, severely disabled, or victims of a wildfire or natural disaster to transfer their lower assessed property value of their primary home to a newly purchased or newly constructed replacement principal residence. And that's up to 3 times. Or I believe it's once per disaster, since there's so many disasters going on. Value limitations are placed on this type of transfer, and any value and amount above 100% is added to the transferred value if the full cash value of the replacement home is greater than the full cash value of the original home. And
Dwight, Victoria raised her hand and had a question. Do you mind taking the question?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Oh, that's okay. I can let you know. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'll probably have questions throughout.
Yeah, maybe we'll do them all at the end. And
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
thank you. And value, the market value of the home is equal to its fair market value. And here's an example of a house. If you have a $2 million home and attached to it, it had a low assessed value of $700,000, for example. So you sell your $2 million home, and then they later replace it with a higher value home at 2.5 million. Then the assessed value of the replacement home would become 1.2 million. And that's using a computation of the old assessed value of 700,000, and you add the excess between the sales price and the replacement price. So it's 700,000 plus 500,000 in this example would give them a new replacement property tax base of 1.2 million. So that's kind of a rough example of when you buy something that's more than what you sold. And if the replacement home value is the same or less than the value of the original home, then the assessed value of the original home is transferred to the replacement property. And I have an example of that too. Here's an example. A person has a property tax base of 100,000 on their original residence, and then they sell it, the original residence, for, let's say, 600,000. And then they purchase a new residence within 2 years for 500,000. Then A's property tax base on the new residence would be 100,000, because the fair market value of the original residence is higher or equal to than the fair market value of the new residence purchased. So that's kind of the 2 ways your calculation may come out. Probably the first one we did is what you're probably experiencing with this booming market, where they're probably, even if they're getting a smaller house, it probably still costs more than what they're selling. But if they're downsizing, you might still have this second example. And you can do this 3 times. And also, to qualify, the homeowner only has to qualify under one of the 3 categories, which is being age 55 or older, or severely disabled, or a victim of a disaster. And they don't need to meet all categories or 2 of them to qualify, just one of them. And they will apply with the assessor in the county where the replacement property is located. And usually most of the assessors have a website in their county that goes through the procedures. And there's a lot of, like, maybe that's some of your questions, but there's a lot of, I guess, special circumstances and other things. And some of the legislation will probably be clarified in future procedures or definitions, which will take time. even though the Proposition 19 is in force now. I think what I heard was Proposition 13, the old proposition took years to clarify, even though that one was much, I guess, more condensed than Proposition 19, which is pages and pages of information. So just like the Stimulus Act and all the income tax changes that are going on every few months since the pandemic, they come out with the rules and then the IRS comes out with an interpretation, and then it gets clarified or adjusted later. So just like income taxes, property taxes will probably have some clarification for some special circumstances. And I guess you just need to be aware of that. But those are the major, I guess, the provisions that you were interested in, which is the transfer for a age 55 or older person to a new home inside of California. And also the parent, child, and grandchild exclusion provisions became effective on February 16, 2021. There were a lot of people doing planning and transactions with tax attorneys earlier this year that were concerned with that situation, but that exclusion is now in place. So there's not as much planning you can do for that part, but that's the second part of it. Otherwise, most of the other provisions are still in place. And I believe also for disabled veterans, there's a lot of property tax exclusions or provisions that will help them out too, which I think were always in place before Prop 19. And my contact information is, you can get it from Margret, or it's on the screen now, my phone if you have a question, or my email. And I'll be happy to follow up later if you have more questions, but let's see. But those are the main parts. And hopefully we can get back. But
Okay.
I guess you had a question?
Yeah, I think Victoria had a question.
Yeah, I don't see the letter anymore, but I wanted to go back to, I think you said you sell something for 200,000 with an assessed value of 70, two million with an assessed value of 700,000. That whole thing confused me.
So
For 700.
have a person who most likely they're a couple that have lived in a house quite a while.
Right.
And they bought it a few years ago. So their property tax is being assessed on a value of 700,000, let's say.
From when they first bought it?
But they bought it, whatever price it was, maybe 600. But they're selling it for 2 million. That was the example.
Oh, so it's the property tax assessment.
Yeah, that's what we meant by
okay.
assessed value. So in that example, it was you, as the realtor, sold their house in Los Angeles for 2 million.
Right.
And so we're not talking about income tax. We're just talking about property tax here.
Right. Property
So,
tax.
but this house they bought maybe for, let's say 500,000 is now being assessed at 700. And you just sold it for 2 million. So you want to tell them they can replace it with this Proposition 19. And now you go and find them a new house in La Jolla for 2.5 million.
And so they sell it for 2 million, they buy one for 2.5. So
Within 2 years. So
right.
then the assessed value or the property tax value of the new house that they bought for 2.5 million will be 1.2 million.
Okay.
It's 700 old assessed value, the base. But since they're buying a higher priced house, the excess gets added, which is 500,000. So it's 2 million you sold, and then you replaced it with 2.5 million.
Right.
So they're not buying a
Right.
like kind house. They're buying a more expensive house.
Right. Do they pay taxes at all, or are the taxes eliminated or postponed?
Are you talking about property tax or income
Yes.
tax?
Yes, property tax.
On which house?
The one that you just identified, the they sell it for 2 million, they buy it for 2.5. So do they owe anything on it? Will they
Yeah,
be assessed? for
they're
anything?
going to be, my understanding is they'll be assessed on the new house at 1 point, the assessed value will be 1.2 million.
Okay, and since they had, the other question is, since they had to buy it after April 1st, does that mean that any clients we have to have bought it 2 years or later, 2 years prior to April 1st or later?
Well,
In other
the,
words, April 1st of 2019 or later.
yeah, the rule went in at April 1st, but if you had a person who already sold their house last year,
Right,
they bought it in July, it would still follow these rules.
right. But they
Because
couldn't
it's-
have bought it in 2000, they couldn't have bought it in 2018 or sold it in 2018.
Yeah, it has to be within 2 years. Yeah,
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you so
but
much.
but you don't have to buy and sell after April 2021.
Okay,
That's what I thought you were asking, but yeah, you have to, it has to be within 2 years. So then that situation might be a little, yeah, I'd have to probably look into it, or you might have to check how they would do it, because you're kind of straddling the two rules. I don't know. Do you have many people that are in that situation? Where,
no, only, I work a lot with seniors, so there are some seniors. In fact, I've got two couples now that sold their home several years ago, and they're with their kids right now, and their grandkids until they buy a condo. So there will be several years in between. So I just wanted to get it straight.
okay. Then yeah, I haven't thought of that question. I don't know. They might, I would guess they might be able to use the old rule too. But that's something, if you're interested, I could look into, or do some research on that.
Oh, thank you. Neither one of them is downsizing at this point. They're still with their grandkids, but it's something to think about for me.
So the good news on this is that you can either go up in price or down in price. Whereas in, the old rules, the 60/90s were only, I think, had to be equal value or lower. So this actually gives people more mobility in either direction, right, Dwight?
Yeah, it gives them more mobility, and you could do it multiple times, 3 times. And also, I think before it was a little more involved, where you had to go to certain counties, and each county kind of had different rules on transfers sometimes. So it was not as easy. And now it appears you can go to any place in California, and all the counties are using the same requirements. So I think it's a little more simplified and easier to use, and you could do it up to 3 times. And
That's
it also
wonderful.
includes the disaster areas, which could come into play because a lot of people live in fire areas in Southern
Yeah.
California. So
I remember with the old 60/90 that Santa Barbara was not included in that, I think. So this is so great that people can move anywhere in California whatsoever. And then I had another question. How do they determine, or what are, how do they determine who is severely disabled? Like what kind of, are there certain categories of that? How do people do that? How do people qualify for that? What is the definition of severely disabled?
I think it's the same one as before. I actually was looking, and I couldn't find anything under Prop 19 where they changed it. But it's mainly someone who probably has something like a blindness or some severe disability that they can't do full employment, whether it's due to their birth, or an accident. So I think they need that certification, and probably if someone does need to qualify, they probably should talk to the county, but they probably would be already getting that, maybe some assistance currently as well.
Okay. Somebody, somebody asked for your email, Dwight, in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to put it in. But yeah, if you have, does anyone have any other questions?
I think we might get some more questions coming in. So regarding the changes from Prop 13 to now Proposition 19, I know a lot of our clients have questions regarding transferring the property over. I just wanted to kind of see if you could go over that again. I think to the children and grandchildren and stuff like that. I think that the major difference now is that it must be a primary residence, correct?
Yeah.
In
it
other
must
words,
be a primary residence under the, well, in both cases, whether you're just buying a new residence, but that's mainly what happened with Prop 19. It just took out a lot of the, I guess, some of the favorable parts of the old proposition. So for the one that maybe some of your clients are worried about is the inheritance. You know, a lot of
yeah,
kids are not able to buy a house because it's so expensive. But mainly what happened under the parent-child or grandparent to grandchild exclusion is it has to be the principal residence of the transferor, which is the parent. And then the person inheriting it, which is the child, has to take it over as their principal residence. And I was told that if you have two kids, both do not have to live in it now as a primary residence, but just one of them to keep the exclusion. So that one, the value would be the current taxable assessed value when they inherit it. And whatever else, I guess, plus $1 million.
okay.
So
That's good to know. So if it was given to both kids, only one would have to live in it.
yeah, that's what I've seen as interpretation, but I think, yeah, that's something, yeah, that could come out later in more interpretations.
Mhm.
But that's what some people think was the intent of the rules. So
And Dwight, we have another question coming in here from Diana. She says, is assessed value the same as appraised value? And how is this value determined?
the assessed value, when we're talking about that, it's what the property tax assessor is using on the property tax bill. So that's usually different than, I think, when you were referring to appraised value, which is when, you know, like you get appraisals for lenders or gift tax or something. And as you're aware, the appraisals, I guess you would think of that as being more of the market value. And the assessed value is usually not market value, right? And that's the thing that people are trying to preserve is the low tax basis, right? Because you probably have some clients who have a house in Southern California, their parents are probably paying $2,000 or $3,000 on this house that's worth a lot if they bought it a long time ago for a few bucks. And that would be the assessed value. So I think that's what we're trying to explain in some of those examples.
Okay, great.
Is you're using assessed value, and then when we're talking about the market value, that's for you guys, that would be what you're selling it for or what they're buying it for.
Excellent. And then Diana asked another question. She said, do we find this information on Realist, which is on our MLS Realist, and how do we show our clients the assessed value? I know that when you go to the Realist tax, which is what we have on our MLS, pulls up the tax records, and you will typically see what the assessed value is. But is there another way that people can find out what the assessed value is of their home?
I would guess they would look at their recent property tax bills, the ones they're paying the property tax on currently, and if they don't have that, I guess they would just go online and look up their parcel, which is pretty much public information if you have the parcel number. Whether they, just use another title or name for the property, you can always look up the parcel number. So it should be on the online that way.
Perfect. So you can tell your clients to do that before you have your meeting with them. Wonderful.
Yeah. Do a lot of your clients have concerns about property tax, or they're just worried about this sales price and purchase price?
Well, actually, a lot of people, especially seniors and stuff like that, they worry about purchasing their new property. That's one of the reasons why sometimes they're reluctant to sell their current home, because their property taxes are so low, and they're nervous that if they go ahead and they purchase the new property, well, now they're going to have these really, really high tax bills that they weren't, that they don't want to pay. They're so used to having their lower tax base.
Yeah.
So this is great. So this actually just, opens things up for so many people that may have been reluctant, or maybe thought, they couldn't do it. Maybe they're on a fixed income now, they're retired, all that sort of stuff. And so I think this is just fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is important. And then also, I think going forward, if it's not a principal residence, there's other planning that people are doing for rental properties and other things, which they might use an LLC to purchase a rental property to try to mitigate future property tax assessments when they transfer it among the family legacy. So
Can you explain
it's also important for different things, but I've seen some people start to use LLCs when it's appropriate to buy rental properties. Can
you elaborate a little bit on that for the group?
Because when an entity buys a property like LLC, it's not a person. So when you have corporations and entities like LLCs, if you don't have more than a 50% change in ownership, then they will not generally reassess the property. So that's where it would be something that someone would look into. But I think probably a lot of your customers already consider using entities like LLCs for protection from litigation, especially rental properties, if they get sued or something.
I've heard that, but then an attorney told me that, that even though we kind of, that we've all been told that people can just sue you anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard and seen attorneys do corporations or LLCs and actually, tell people to make 5 of them if they have 5 rental properties, 1 for each one.
Mm-hmm.
But it probably does some good and it kind of,
some level of protection. Yeah.
Eliminates things. But I was just referring to that as if you had a concern for property tax, which we're talking about today. And you have to remember, this is only property tax, and there's always income tax, which is another beast to tame. So sometimes when people do certain planning for legal or litigation or other things or property tax, you also need to think about the income tax side too.
Sure.
So
we should do a class on that too, maybe next time.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people, I think, are still using even the old rule. They keep thinking if I replace my house, I don't have to pay tax on it, like, if I buy another one. But that rule kind of went out the door with the exclusions of the 250,000 and 500,000.
Yeah.
But still, people are, I guess, especially older people, they're thinking, that's their first thing they say. Well, if I replace it, I don't have to pay tax, capital gains.
Yeah,
so,
right.
But that could be a lot too. So it really depends on their time frame and things. And but especially now with the prices, the property taxes are just huge. Yeah. Before it was manageable. I think people didn't think about it. But I think now that property taxes are so high, that's like you were saying, that's their concern, if they can afford to pay the property tax after they buy the property.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what if one owner is over 55 and then the other owner is under 55? Does just one owner need to be over 55?
That one, yeah, I believe it has, yeah, it's the, that one, yeah, I believe that it should work. I'd have to look that one up.
Okay, wonderful. Does anyone else have any questions for Dwight? And so again, we have Dwight's information in the chat. Anyone that wants to consult with Dwight has can go ahead and contact him directly. Let me see if we can actually put his phone number in the chat. Let's see your office. Dwight, can you actually write that in? So if anyone has any questions for Dwight, anyone has any clients they want to refer to him. Okay, he's put his direct line in. And then just again, just to reiterate, we're not tax professionals. So we know this is a great class to understand a little bit more about Proposition 19 and kind of give our clients some of the nuts and bolts about it. They really want to consult with their tax professional, and Dwight is available to them if they want to call him and ask him all of the rules regarding the proposition. Oh, great. So we have his website here and his direct line.
Yeah, so, yeah, otherwise, yeah, it seems like it's a good proposition. It probably helps a lot of the seniors. It's just, I guess, the finding the property now.
That's our job.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
But I guess that's the major problem is finding a property to buy now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's still a lot of great properties out there. Yeah. Well, Dwight, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Round of applause.
Oh, welcome.
See everybody clapping.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a.
Oh, somebody's asking oh, there's Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're so welcome.
You're welcome.
So now that now that Dwight's helped us with a lot of that information, what I'd like to talk about is how to market this information to our clients. And I want to share my screen. Here it is. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay, great. So then I wanted to talk about how do we market this information to our clients, marketing Proposition 19. And one of the first things I would recommend is targeted marketing. So you could ask your title rep for homes in your farm area that, for example, have been owned for, let's say, 20 years plus, that kind of thing. And either call them or, send them a mailer or something like that. And then another thing we can do is make flyers for door knocking. So when you're door knocking and people, you might say to yourself, well, a lot of these people in my neighborhood might be a little bit younger. Well, you know what? Everyone knows someone who's 55 plus, right? We all have our aunts and uncles and, and sisters and brothers and neighbors and all that stuff. And so it's still a very valuable really valuable information. So if you print out some flyers and let people know this, a lot of people can't take advantage of this stuff if they don't know about it. So I think it's still great to go ahead and door knock with that information. It also gives you a good way to be of service to your community. And then the next thing is maybe doing some social media ads through command. So we can use the information from this class to prepare social media posts or also paid ads on command. And you can use the targeted category. So when you actually do the command ads, at the very end, it'll ask you if you want to do some kind of like hyper targeted syndication. And it has just tons and tons of different categories. Some will be seniors and all that sort of stuff. So you can actually click on that information so that people that may potentially need this information are going to be getting it in their news feed on social media. It'll go to Facebook. It's also has the capability to go to Instagram. And I think those are the only two. And then the next one is OYM. Everyone knows this, open your mouth, right? So you might want to just review this information that Dwight gave us today and prepare like a 2-minute elevator pitch so that you're prepared when you meet people, you know, when you're out and about, you're at the grocery store or getting your coffee or doing whatever it is. And, you know, again, I think it's a good kind of icebreaker and just giving people information, again, being of service. I think that's really important. Again, here, you never know who you may be speaking with that might need this information. Maybe they're, you know, their friend, family member, something like that is struggling with what to do. And you probably have the answer, right? And then the last thing I just want to end with is that we always remember that we're not the CPA. We want to, you know, give them some of the nuts and bolts, some of the bullet points and things like that, but we want to make sure that they contact their licensed professional, their CPA, for any additional information. Again, we're not tax professionals. And so if you have any questions, you can call or email Dwight, and he's available to us all. And that's the end of the presentation. If anyone has any questions, ask now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, we will see you in the office. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Oh, Margaret, I found your answer.
Oh, you did? Okay.
You just want a homeowner. Out of
Oh,
this,
let's see.
out of the married couple has to be 55.
Say that one more time.
Just, I put it in the chat. One homeowner
Okay.
has to be 55, not both.
Oh, perfect.
I think
So-
that was your question, right?
That was, yeah. So
Sorry,
one person,
Yeah, I typed it in the chat.
great. So everyone can look at the chat there. If one person is 55 or older, they can take advantage of Proposition 19. The other person's younger, that's okay, as long as one person is.
Yeah, because I was kind of worried because for income tax, that when you're doing the exclusions, you get into a little more complications when you have people who took the exclusion or their ages. So that's why I was kind of hesitant, but I found it. So the interpretation there is just one of them for property tax.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Okay, everyone, we'll have a great week.
Thank you,
And
Margaret.
contact
Bye.
Dwight if you have Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank
Take
you,
care,
Margaret.
everyone.
Thanks, Margaret.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.